What's up, guys? My name is Elias, and it is a beautiful Sunday morning. There's snow on the ground. I'm a little stuffed up. My fiance and I still have our Christmas tree out, but I couldn't wait to talk to you guys about the newest Disney Plus series from Marvel Studios, Wonder Man. As you can see, I haven't even done the whole lighting setup that I usually do, and I'm in a totally different spot because I was just so excited to talk to you guys about this series. Now, this is a series that kind of gives me that Thunderbolts vibe, the movie that came out last year, simply because this feels like this is a project that is about something. This is a character first project, action second. There's really only one or two action scenes in the whole entire show, but the performances, the story, everything is just so engaging that you don't even really miss any of the action. You kind of just want to see what happens between these two characters, Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man, and Trevor Slattery, aka the OG Mandarin from Iron Man 3. You just want to see that their friendship kind of just how it evolves, how they come together. You want to see each of them win and succeed, and you love that they support each other and that things go haywire, but also, there's just a journey to be had throughout the 8 episodes, and each episode is only a half an hour each, so it really was like an easy binge to do. I wrote some thoughts down, so you know what? Let's just get right into it. Here is my take on the Wonder Man series. Now, just a couple of notes. I do love that every episode does kind of end with this hook in order to keep you engaged to watch the next episode. Either whether it's a cliffhanger or some kind of revealed information about Simon's past or something that happened with Trevor or this, that, and the third. There's just always something to keep you wanting to watch the next episode. Another thing, I also loved how kind of vague his powers were throughout the series. I know in the comic books he has like these psionic abilities, but I do love that the series itself doesn't explicitly state like, these are my powers, this is what I do, this is what I can do. It's just like, oh, dude has super strength. Dude has psionic abilities where he can control ionic energy. He can shatter things essentially just with reverberations from his body. And I just love that it was just like this, like we're witnessing his powers rather than being explained what they are. I also kind of dug that this was essentially like the third of the Trevor Slattery trilogy, beginning with Iron Man 3, then his appearance in Shang-Chi, and now in Wonder Man, where you kind of see his arc come full circle from this drunken actor who, was tricked, quote unquote, into playing this terrorist role, and then now to being this selfless. He's turned around, he's changed his ways, and he's become sober, and, it's just kind of beautiful to see this unassuming character played by the great Sir Ben Kingsley, mind you, being as entertaining as he is, as engaging of a watch as he is, and just being as heartfelt, honest, and just kind of real. And the last of note, really, I just love how this series does take a stab at superhero cinema and how big it has become, where, spoiler, because I will be talking spoilers throughout this video, but Simon obviously becomes Wonder Man at the end, and he gains this worldwide fame off of this remade movie from the 80s. And I think that it was a really dope way to kind of expressively say, like, hey, we understand that superhero cinema is the biggest kind of cinema we have going nowadays. And we also understand they kind of gave us like these intricacies of like what actors, directors, producers, what everybody goes through in making these movies. So the behind the scenes stuff. And it was really cool to kind of see that. Honestly, it almost made me want to become an actor again. I used to want to act, and I haven't wanted to in a while, but watching this series made me realize like there's something still there that, it kind of reignited a passion. And for a show to do that, that just goes to show you how much it speaks to me and how much I genuinely enjoyed it. I don't know if it's something I'll ever rewatch again. I almost wish that it was a 2-hour film rather than an 8-episode series, because I guarantee you it would probably be one of my favorite superhero films of all time. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is an amazing casting as Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man. And of course, like I said, Sir Ben Kingsley as Trevor Slattery, always welcome, and the pairing was just so dynamic. So let's get right into the review, though. I am going to talk, like I said, spoilers. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely suggest going to watch it before you watch this, because I kind of can't talk about the whole series without getting into spoilers. But yeah, I'm just kind of going to go through this, episode by episode, and just kind of give you my take on each episode, what I liked about it, maybe something I didn't like about it, which I don't think that's going to happen very often in this review, because I pretty much liked everything about this series. So kicking off with episode 1, this series kind of plays as like an 80s throwback. You have Simon at the movies with his pops as a kid, and he's kind of just having this like awestruck feeling of watching Wonder Man in the theater. As corny as it may have been a little bit, like the effects were a little outdated and whatnot, I just like that it kind of gives that vibe and paying homage to those 80s action movies that I still grew up on. Even though I'm a 90s baby, like my parents showed me all the 80s movies, like with Jean-Claude Van Damme, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone. Like, it just kind of gave me that vibe. And honestly, watching the movie he was watching in the theater, like, it kind of gave me Turbo Man vibes. So like Jingle All the Way from the 90s. And it was so funny to kind of watch that and really get that kind of sense of it. And it brought me back to when I was a kid, just that one scene, and every time it was brought up thereafter, like it really just reignited like the child in me to be like, wow, this is just something different. But I do love that he does like this funny acting stuff in order to get ready. He's very method. He kind of gets loose, does like these weird sounds. It kind of gives you a glimpse into his character, especially when he starts giving too many notes on the set of the American Horror Story show that he's doing. And I just kind of love that insight into, he takes this job, this career very, very seriously, to the point where he's willing to risk even having a role just to make sure that it's as good as it can be. And a lot of actors are like that. And I just love that it kind of showed that Simon is not a perfect dude. He's not the perfect guy to be a superhero, but once we're introduced to him and his civilian life as an adult, and just him trying to make it and really make a name for himself, like, again, reignited just like the actor in me too. Like I remember, when I was, in middle school doing plays in theater in high school, like I always wanted to be, I always wanted to give my best, always wanted to do my best. I never necessarily played method and tried to get into, loose doing sounds or whatever. As Ron Burgundy would say,
the Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
I never used to do any of those things, but it really was cool to just see that aspect of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that little corner of it. I also love the song that starts playing in the background of that, him doing that. It's called Act Naturally by Buck Owens and the Buccaneers. And the main line that stood out to me, of course, was, they're going to put me in the movies. They're going to make a big star out of me. And I just kind of love that that's Simon's motivation, obviously, is to be a big star. He wants to make a name for himself. But then the song kind of plays it like, at what cost? Like at what cost are you going to finally get that big break? What are you willing to do in order to maintain your drive to becoming a big actor, celebrity, whatever it is? We're also introduced to Vivian here, which is his girlfriend. He breaks up with her. She's Olivia Thirlby, I think her name is. She was the girl from Dredd back in 2016. No, Dredd was 2012. Yeah, so she was in Dredd from 2012. She's kind of, upset that, he essentially is just so consumed with being an actor that he has no time, or he's just not good at relationships. And that's very relatable, I think, to just anybody with a career, anybody who wants to do good at their career. My fiance, she is a general manager of a hotel, and she loves her job. And sometimes she hates the time that she spends away from me. She would like to spend more time with me, but I get it. I mean, like, look, when you have a career that you genuinely love, that you want to be good at, I can only support that. I want only the best for her, and same thing with people who, genuinely love their careers. I mean, you only want those kind of people to succeed. And, it is what it is. It just is. But moving on, he does go into this little theater to watch Midnight Cowboy with Jon Voight. I think it's from the 70s. And he he meets Trevor Slattery, and this kind of, creates that forms that initial bond, that relationship. Like, he recognizes him as the Mandarin and stuff, but like they kind of are able to get past that and just recognize each other's talent in a sense, even though Trevor hasn't necessarily seen him act or anything. At this point that we know of, they do kind of have like this natural chemistry already. But when he finds out from Trevor that they're remaking Wonder Man, Simon is desperate to get into that audition, so he kind of fakes a phone call and goes against his agent's wishes and makes the audition. He kills it. Trevor helps him kind of get out of his head and to not think so much about, making notes or like what the character's background is. Like, he just tells him, like, just live in the moment, just kind of be in that moment. Don't overthink it so much. Don't let your own brain ruin what could possibly be just a very real emotion. But of course, the ending of the episode, like I said, it does end with a hook. Every single episode, you find out that Trevor is actually working for the Department of Damage Control. And it hurts to find that out even just one episode in, but also like you kind of understand where this is going now. He's going to be spying on Simon. He's going to be trying to gather information for them because Simon is super powered, and the Department of Damage Control apparently is going through budget cuts where they need to be able to justify their existence and arrest as many super powered threats as possible to put them in the raft. And it was a very interesting like sub plot to the whole entire thing, because you're realizing that like it kind of almost plays like things that are happening today, where you have tyrants kind of going around, making sure that potential threats are being locked away or even killed. And it's I think it was very timely for this show to kind of come out and show that it's like they're kind of just trying to justify their existence. So I won't go further into that. That's not what this video is for. But I thought that was very interesting to add that in there, because it's not so heavy-handed, but it also provides a rich subtext to everything. In episode 2, we find out how Trevor Slattery got recruited by the Department of Damage Control. I love that it just kind of portrays the struggles of a working actor in Hollywood, this episode, because you see that Simon, he does this like self-tape video, and he has to go to this studio in order to do it because he kind of destroyed his apartment. And it just kind of further cements Trevor and Simon's bond and their friendship. And I think it's really funny that, because they couldn't film in his apartment because he broke the wall and he got very angry, they go to Joe Pantoliano's house. Like, Joey Pants making an appearance in this show is so funny, and what he does later on in the show is even funnier to me. But yeah, he kind of tells Simon when they meet up with him, he kind of tells Simon like, listen, acting is just a job. It's not anything too serious or whatever. And I love that Trevor Slattery, he gets offended for himself. Apparently they got some beef from back in the day, but Trevor was a drug addict and whatnot, so he even told Joey Pants like, hey, take this role because I don't think I can do it. But he always harbored that kind of resentment about that moment in his life. And I just love that Trevor kind of defends the whole point of acting after Simon calls Joey Pants out like, hey, you're mad condescending, whatever. Trevor says, acting isn't a job, it's a calling. And when I was acting, I kind of felt that in a way. Like, I didn't feel like it was a job. I felt like it was something that I actually could do. I'm not saying I'm like the best actor or anything either, like, but it was just something that it made me feel comfortable. It made me feel like I genuinely enjoyed what I was doing. And I love that Trevor kind of defends that and is like, hey, it's not just a job. Like, would you like to make money off of doing something like acting? Yeah, of course. Would you like to be a working actor, pay your bills that way? Yeah, of course. But it's not just that. It's when you're living in someone else's shoes, especially, like it kind of allows you to forget all of your woes, your worries, your problems today, and just kind of allows you to live in the moment of someone else's life. And it almost makes you more empathetic towards people too, to be able to walk in another person's shoes. And I think there's just something beautiful about that with Trevor becoming more humane. I mean, obviously, as we saw him in Iron Man 3, he was just this drunken dude who was very selfish and just kind of wanted fame and fortune. And then to now being like, I'm going to support my colleague. I want him to succeed. I don't want you feeding any kind of poison into his mind about it just being some willy-nilly job, when literally sometimes people work for decades before they even get a part, or like they work so hard doing so many different odd jobs before they can even cement a role, and I think that was really, really a cool moment for Trevor Slattery. But after Trevor finds the damage to Simon's wall when they go back to his apartment, they send the self-tape. Trevor doesn't pay no mind to it. He kind of just keeps it moving, and that makes Simon feel more comfortable with him, even though that's clearly, Trevor's spying on him and trying to gather information. But at the same time, like, Simon, he realizes, like, wow, I actually have a friend. And you can tell that this guy is not necessarily, a guy with many friends. So he's not even good at relationships. So, friendships, it's a whole other thing. So episode 3 is the birthday party episode where we go to Simon's hometown of Pacoima, and we get to meet his brother and his mom. And his mom is just a genuine sweetheart. His brother's kind of a D-bag, but, that's sibling rivalry, I guess. And his brother always, provided and always did something real with his life, quote unquote real, whereas Simon always wanted to, quote unquote, goof off and, do this acting thing. And I guess his brother always resented him for that, but his mom always supported him. And I love that, is because it's just, moms always want the best for their kids. And I always felt like that with my mom, especially. She only ever wants the best for me. She only ever supports me. And I just I felt at home with that feeling of like, he genuinely loves his mom. He shows so much love to his mom. He cares about her. And, that's how I feel about my mom. I mean, that's how everybody should feel about their moms. You only get one, and especially with one as sweet as she was in the show, always supporting him through everything. I think there was something very beautiful about being able to see Simon's, familial background. But Trevor starts investigating. He's asking around questions and stuff. And, he meets a couple of unsavory characters, a couple of colorful ones. He's just kind of like, dude, I don't know how you do it. And this is when Simon starts to get a little sketched out by Trevor, though. He's basically just like, dude, I don't know, like, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why you're, like, snooping around. This is kind of weird. But, Trevor's just like, I'm excited to meet everybody. And I just realized, by the way, I don't have my mic on. So the audio is going to be very terrible for this video. But like I said, I was just so excited to share this. It's been a crazy morning, with the snow and everything, trying to get my fiance off to work. I just wanted to talk about it. Finally, I got all my notes. So anyway, I'm going to keep on going. But this is when you find out that Simon never really had a friend, and he was always kind of a lonely kid. His mom tells a story about how lonely he was to Trevor, and Trevor just kind of just like starts feeling really bad for him. And he's just like, wow, like, what am I, you can see it on his face. He's like, what am I doing, man? And even though he's still spying, even though he's kind of going into his room to see, if he could find any kind of information to give to the Department of Damage Control, you see it in his face that his humanity is really creeping through, and he's like, man, like, I can't keep doing this. Like, this, I want to stay out of prison, but like, this sucks. Like, I finally met a guy I like. Finally, I have a friend too in this business, in this industry, who is genuinely real and is supporting me like I'm supporting him. And I thought that was a really cool moral dilemma to give that character. And again, we're 3 episodes in, no real action has happened yet. And it's just so engaging because of the character moments that you get, the performances, the writing, this whole story that's just going on. You're figuring out more about Simon, you're figuring out more about Trevor, and I kind of just loved those first 3 episodes. And of course, the episode ends again, another hook. They both get callbacks for Wonder Man. So when Trevor goes to pee, Trevor goes to pee first. They stop on the side of the road. And, Simon's down and out. He feels a lot of doubt for himself in getting the role. And he just feels like nothing's going to come of this acting thing. So Trevor takes he goes to pee, takes the wire off that he was wearing for damage control, and he just tosses it. And that just goes, that that is like almost his full redemption in a sense, because he's just like, dude, I can't do this anymore. Like I would rather keep lying to to Damage Control than to Simon. You know, I'd rather be more honest to Simon. He's real. And when he comes back from peeing, you know, Simon tells him they got the callbacks, and it's just like an awesome full circle. I got a little emotional, honestly. I was like, wow, like they both got the callbacks. Like, obviously I know what's going to happen. I saw a bunch of spoilers for the show before I even watched it. But just watching that part was just like such a dope, like, yes, let's go kind of moment. Like you're really so happy for the both of them. And I thought that was just really, really cool. Now, episode 4 is being hailed as one of the best episodes of MCU television, which I kind of agree. The Doorman episode is crazy. So it's about this guy named Damar Davis. He's a comic book character called Doorman. But in this one, he's like a literal doorman, you know, for a nightclub. I don't know if that's really his origin in the comics. I didn't read up on it too much. But he does have the ability of, you know, immortality, flight, teleportation, phasing, superhuman durability. So he's very powerful. In the show, he's played by Byron Bowers. Once he gains his powers, he acts as like this living portal to the Dark Force dimension, which is, you know, a Cloak and Dagger reference, essentially. You know, Cloak and Dagger from the Marvel comics. Cloak gets his powers from the Dark Force dimension. So he's an actual character created in the comics by John Byrne. And his story is kind of interesting. So he's this nightclub guy, security guy at the door. And he loves his job. He just loves kind of just meeting people, talking to people. And then he meets Josh Gad, right? So Josh Gad is an actor who, and by the way, well, I'll get to this part. But so Josh Gad is this actor. He treats him with a lot of respect. He likes him. And then he's leaving. Damar Davis, he's leaving his job for, you know, he's throwing out the garbage for the job before he leaves. And on the dumpster he throws it out, and is the Roxxon Corporation. Now, the Roxxon Corporation is an essentially evil entity in the MCU, wherein they're responsible for a lot of the villainous stuff that goes on in the MCU. So it was a really cool like throwback to that, because we haven't heard from the Roxxon Corporation in a while. But he sees like this like kind of black sludge ooze, you know, matter coming out of the dumpster. He touches it, and that's when he starts to get his powers. He goes into like the Dark Force dimension, realizes he can kind of teleport and stuff like that. Then he gets to his house or his apartment, and his dog runs into him, and his dog disappears into the downstairs neighbor's apartment. And it was just really cool to see him to see someone kind of discovering their powers in this world. He, especially just like those random powers, like Doorman's like probably a C to D-list character, but yet they kind of brought him into the forefront to be like this tragic character. And he's a tragic character because one night in the nightclub, you know, there's a fire that breaks out, and he helps everyone escape by letting them phase through the door, because the door got locked. And I thought that was a really cool way to like even explore that kind of power, and then Josh Gad sees him, and he's like, dude, I think you can do so much more stuff. We're trying to figure out this way, you know, or rather he offers him first to be his security guy, door guy, or, you know, just like his assistant and whatnot. And then on the movie set, when they're trying to figure out that whole escape plan, he's like, dude, why don't we just hire Damar? Like, he's got actual powers. It'll cut costs on CGI and stuff like that. And then so Damar ends up being like this big celebrity. He ends up, you know, having a big part in the movie, and people start loving him. He gets like these different endorsement deals, and then he's in commercials. And this kind of portrays his downfall, because once he starts getting into these commercials, there's this product, I think it's like a popcorn or a potato bag or something like that. And he starts to like, essentially, you know, it was a faulty product. People started getting hurt. So he makes like this apology video on social media. Then he's trying to, you know, get his fame back with a sequel of that heist movie. And it's crazy because this was so interesting to me when you really start to see his downfall, when he goes on this show that is basically making fun of him. Like, the host is making fun of him on this show, and you really get to see how like celebrity life is not all it's cracked up to be. You know, it sometimes if you're chasing the money, especially, it's not what it's cracked up to be. You shouldn't get into anything to just chase money. You should get into something because you love doing it. And Damar didn't even want to be an actor in the first place. So now that he's doing that, he's like, this is the only thing I know now to make money, to maintain the lifestyle I'm living. and it just backfires completely. Once he does the sequel to the movie, this is kind of like his last ditch effort to get back into the spotlight. Josh Gad ends up running through him, but he goes missing. And the way I read a social media post that said, Josh Gad is an actor who's missing now, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, Josh Gad is missing? I didn't read the article, but I was like, oh, snap. What happened with Josh Gad? Come to find out, it's just from the show. It's literally something that happened in the show. So I thought that was really funny to finally see that in the show and be like, oh, that's what they were talking about. Okay. And so Damar kind of has his entire, because he was drinking, he was drunk, and I guess he couldn't control his powers, and he got sick, and he threw up, and Josh Gad just went missing. And I thought that was really cool to be like, this is why they don't allow superpowers on sets anymore, and that's why Simon has to hide, that he's a superpowered being, an enhanced being. So I thought that was a really cool origin story for all of that, and it just goes to show you, don't sell out. You'll get hit with lawsuits eventually. People will start falling out of love with you anyway. So don't ever get into acting for the fame and the fortune is what I'm saying. Or any career for that matter, for just fame and fortune. Get into something that you love because you love it. Because you don't want it to feel like work every single day, right? And you won't make celebrities go missing. You know what I mean? But now we're in episode 5. And, Trevor and Simon, they're celebrating the callbacks. And, Trevor gets in with some bad people. You find out that there was some people he owed some money to, and Simon ends up taking care of it. He uses his abilities. You finally get to see a little. This is finally, I think, the first action scene of the whole movie, essentially, besides the last one where he broke an entire table because he got into a fight with his brother. I forgot to mention that. But now you really get to see what his powers are about. He's super strong. He's just tossing dudes. He's using his abilities to blast people away and stuff. So it was really, really cool to finally get to see a glimpse of his abilities and how strong he really is. But of course, in this day and age, somebody always got something recording something. So some kid sees them, and obviously Simon can't be found out. So they chase him, and they find out that the kid just wants something from them. So they end up doing them this favor of going to this guy's house to get back his motorcycle or something. And you find out when they talk to the guy, oh no, that kid's he's got issues. He's jealous. He just wants the other, he wants more of the business than, what he deserves, And they're not making drugs or anything. They're just bagging up, Tajín candies, tamarindo gummies, And it was so funny to get that Latin flavor in it, that Latino culture, because I love tamarindo candies with the Tajín on them, delicious. Or it was peach candy. I think it was peach, not tamarindo. But Trevor's we gotta side with this guy. He's cool. He's being real. The other kid's not. But then of course the people that Trevor's in bad with, they end up getting that kid who's waiting in the car who recorded them. They're like, give us the footage and we'll help you. So they take the footage from the kid, and then, guns start popping. The kid ends up, the Latin kid ends up, helping the other kid out. And then the guns start popping because the mobsters who are trying to get after Trevor, they end up getting caught by the cops, blah, blah, blah. And it's probably one of the funniest scenes. I'm explaining it so sporadically, but that's really how it feels watching the scene, is because there's so much chaos going on. There's so many players in the scene. And it was just so funny to just kind of see that, I was on the edge of my seat, but I'm laughing the whole time too. It's intense, but hilarious at the same time. So it was so funny. Definitely one of my favorite scenes, if not my favorite scene in the whole entire series. But that episode does end with, they end up leaving and sprinting out of the house because they get the call from Simon's agent that the callbacks are happening now. So they got to rush out of there, and they're all tired, but they're panicking, they're running, and it was just a lot of chaos, and it was a really cool kind of midway, just intense chase action kind of scene going on for a show that is mainly about that character work, and it was really, really cool. Episode 6 opens up with Trevor Slattery's audition for being the Mandarin from back in Iron Man 3. It was just really interesting to see how he got that role in the first place. You know, it's constantly on his mind. He's like, man, I can't believe I was the Mandarin. It's his humanity really is showing through, because he's like, I've made so many mistakes in my life, and that's one of the biggest ones I regret. And obviously that's his biggest role that he's ever played in the MCU, essentially, like, was being the Mandarin. And like, he just regrets it so much because of how much pain and how much turmoil it brought into his life. But they're on their way to Von Kovac's house, and once they get there, they meet a bunch of these actors that are vying for the role of Wonder Man and Barnaby. And Trevor and Simon end up getting split up, essentially, and Kovac throws out the whole scene that he even practiced for. So Simon, this whole entire time, he gets flustered when he's forced to like kind of improvise or do something on the fly. And so this was definitely out of his element. So he ends up doing like this scene from Pretty Woman with his scene partner. And Kovac's like, all right, you did a scene from Pretty Woman. That's not what I wanted. And I thought it was so funny because when Simon started talking about, you treated me like a hooker, like, and I was like, is that Pretty Woman? And then they say it, and I'm like, oh, that was Pretty Woman. So I thought that was really funny. Again, there's little spurts of humor. I love how this series isn't like so like humor heavy or action heavy or anything like that. It does have a great balance of just kind of everything. And it worked. It worked well. It worked so well. In this scene where the Midnight Special plays, which is one of my favorite songs by Creedence Clearwater Revival, Simon has like this vision of he's with his scene partner, but then he has this vision of punching a hole through his head, and he wakes up, so you find out he was dreaming, and it's just like, dude, this man is like, at any moment you could feel like he's ready to pop, like he's ready to blow, like he's going to explode at some point, and you're like, this man has to just keep calm. And Trevor keeps helping him with these breathing exercises and stuff. But like, you can tell like he's just a ticking time bomb. And maybe such a high stress environment, like improvisation in front of the director that could make or break your dreams, like, is not the best environment for him to be in. But he makes do, again, with Trevor's help. I do love that, again, another emotional moment for me. Simon and Trevor, they go outside and they end up doing the scene together and really showing Kovac what they're capable of. And Kovac is so into it. And he gives them the parts. And another thing that I got emotional at, like, they got the part. Like, this whole time, something that they're working so hard for to achieve. And they get it, and they did it together. And that was a beautiful kind of friendship moment too. I'm always a sucker for like buddy comedies or like brother movies or like something that has to do with like a friend and a friend. And I'm always a sucker for that kind of stuff because it just goes to show you like your family, it doesn't even have to be your blood like that. It could be your family, so you choose, right? And I just I love that moment. It got me emotional because they're stunned on a quiet car ride home. They're just like, wow, we actually got the parts. And like, it was just so cool to be like, after 6 episodes, they finally achieved their goal. Right, they've been through so much together to finally get to where they needed to be, and that was a really, really cool scene. I love how episode 7 opens up with so apparently Simon was being bullied as a kid, and his dad, when he was dropping him off, he let him fake a sick day. He was like, yeah, you got a bad cough, and Simon's like, like acting like as if he's coughing. And so he takes him to the movies and he shows him a movie from his childhood, which is Wonder Man. And I kind of just love that little background because I remember, my dad taking me to the theater too when I was a kid. My mom did too, but I mean, because I don't see my dad as often. It just kind of, it helps. It brought those memories back, that childhood feeling. I remember when he took me to see Shrek. You know what I mean? Blade 2, and it was just a really cool to see like that bond that he had with his pops before he passed away. And I love that. I love that we get to dive deeper into Simon's character again without being so heavy-handed. Like, you just get to see what he went through. And again, in one of the episodes, one of the other episodes, I mean, you get to see how Simon was as a kid when he just first discovered he had powers. He didn't get hurt by a fire, and like his brother always treated him weirdly for that, but also like understood that he was special. He was always different, you know. I don't know. I just love those little moments that they decided to really spend on the character when so many, like, that's why I loved Thunderbolts from last year. They really dived deep into these characters, and they really kind of showed us what made them tick, what made them human, what made them so imperfect and flawed. And I kind of just love that when a movie takes the time to really like be about something instead of just showing us flashy spectacle. You know, I don't need that all the time. You know, I mean, it's cool, you know, to watch, and then, you know, it kind of just leaves your brain. Like something like Thunderbolt, something like Wonder Man really sticks with you because of you get to really like feel for these characters and relate and be empathetic towards them. And you know, I thought that was just really beautiful. Just that, and I know that I'm saying all of this off of just that one scene, but like I said, like it just made me relate. Like, you know, it reminds me of going to the movies with my pops. But he's getting ready to film now. They take it back to the present day, and he's you know, a week in of filming, and he's doing all these wardrobe tests, and you know, he's you know, Trevor's getting fitted for his outfit and whatnot. And of course, in typical Simon fashion, he's trying to do some rewrites to his dialogue to get more into the character, to make sure that they're staying as true as possible to the source material. And even Kovac is on board. Like, he gets a little annoyed at first, but he's like, you know what? I think he's right. Yeah. And then Trevor suggests a line that they use. And I just love like the camaraderie between the three now that we got Kovac in with, to make a full trio of like, he's like, people are going to love you guys as Wonder Man and Barnaby. They're going to fall in love with you. So I'm working with you as close as possible. I feel like you guys are my family now. Like, that's kind of like the vibe that they gave off. And the guy who plays Kovac, he came out in Superman last year as the villain. So to see him do a complete 180, and he's like the good guy, he's the director, you know, that just wants to see them succeed, and they want to make a great movie. Like, that dude has some serious acting chops. Like, he really does. I do like that they really dive into Hollywood here, because Simon and Trevor end up meeting with some executives with you know, his agent, and they're offering him a movie role even just a week into shooting Wonder Man, because they know that he's going to be a hot commodity once the movie comes out. And he's just like, and Trevor's like, don't do it, like, there's no point. Do a play, let it breathe, be Wonder Man, but like, do a play, show them that you got acting chops and you're not just this big spectacle actor. Like, you can act, you actually have talent. Show that off before you end up taking another big budget movie or something. And I thought that was really cool, because again, he's just showing that he has his best interests at heart. And you know, they're questioning what Trevor's involvement in the friendship is all about, even though like their duo, their dynamic is something that's big in the reports and papers and whatnot. And you know, I just love the duo of Trevor Slattery and Simon Williams. Like, I think that was like, I don't know why it happened. Like, I don't know how they were conceiving that in the first place when they were making this show, but the fact that they went through with it and they made it the best part of the show, phenomenal. But this is where it's basically like the climax of the series. You kind of get truths come out. And so when this reporter ends up doing a piece on Simon and Trevor, she ends up kind of attacking Trevor. She's known for being like this character assassin. You know, she's gone after like Joseph Gordon-Levitt and other actors. Trevor, you know, he gets mad, he gets upset, and he doesn't want to talk about certain things because she just wants to bring the Mandarin stuff up in his time as a terrorist. And you know, she questions of, you know, how he even was able to get away from the clutches of the government in the first place if he never finished out his prison sentence. So it makes Simon, you know, get a little sketched out too. And then they finally have this talk, and it's a falling out, you know, where Simon finds out the truth that Trevor was spying on him the whole time for the Department of Damage Control. And it broke my heart. Like, I was literally like, my fiance was on the couch. She was sick while I was watching it, and I was taking care of her, and I was just had this in the background while, you know, but obviously watching it. And she's like, "Are you okay?" Because I'm just like, no, because she wasn't really paying attention to it, and I'm over here like, no, why did that happen? And it was like, it was so like, it was such a moment where you're like, I knew it was gonna happen, I knew it was gonna come out, but also like you didn't want it to, because they were such good friends, and you knew that was gonna destroy their friendship. So that in turn makes Simon go to the studio, by himself. There's nobody there. It's at night, and his powers again. Like I said, he was a ticking time bomb, waiting to explode, and he finally exploded and just like destroyed the whole lot. And obviously, this gets on the radar of the Department of Damage Control, on the news radars and everything. And like Simon knows that he's in for it. And that brings us to episode 8, aka the final episode of the series. So you find out that Brent Willard was the original Wonder Man. Him and his pops are talking. His pop suggests that he should be an actor because he sees that Simon has talent. And it's just kind of beautiful that his pops put him on that path. And then it shoots right back to the present day where like that path led to him almost being outed by himself, by his emotions, by his feelings that made him do something that he's probably gonna regret. But I love how this episode opens up because Simon makes this very sweet phone call to his mom because he thinks it's gonna be his last phone call ever to her because he knows that damage control is coming for him, right? Or he thinks damage control is coming for him. And I thought that was a very beautiful, like, he's just kind of like, you know what, I love you, Mom, and I just appreciate you and everything you did, and I hope you're good, I think that's what I would do. Like, if I was about to go to prison, essentially, like, that would be my last phone call probably to my mom, like, just to let her know that, she did everything she could, she did right, and, she supported me through everything, and just that I love her, And I thought that was just like a beautiful, just a nice, serene moment between the two. Then, again, another hook, and this is right in the beginning of the episode. Trevor makes a phone call to Simon, and he just tells him, I just wanted to let you know, like, you have such talent, I'm proud of you, I appreciate your friendship, I'm sorry for everything, and, like, he sacrifices himself, and he goes on TV as the Mandarin and says that he caused that explosion on the lot because of the studio elites. He wanted to get back at him. And I thought that was just a really cool twist. I thought they did that perfectly. like that was crazy. I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't know how Trevor was going to do it once he made the phone call. I was like, well, how is he going to sacrifice himself? And then he went on TV as Mandarin and, took the blame. And the Department of Damage Control guy, like, he let him take the fall, but he was like, I'm on to you, and I'm still going to be watching Simon. Like, I don't care what you did. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. You never saw me coming. I thought that was so cool, to like a nice throwback to Iron Man 3. Because, quick side note, I loved Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin, and I was kind of mad that he became Trevor Slattery instead, because I thought that the way he played the Mandarin, if you're really going to ground that character from the comics into the real world of the MCU, I thought that was a perfect way to do it. And when he became Trevor Slattery, I was like, oh man, that's like wasted potential. But seeing his whole arc now kind of made me appreciate more Iron Man 3 and that whole twist reveal. But yeah, I loved it, and I thought seeing that humanity come through with Trevor in his final moments. He's like, I'm going to be taken to prison, but I'm doing it on my terms. Like, I thought that was really cool. But Kovac never misses a shooting day. So he tells Simon, we're still going to shoot. I know that he was your friend, and he did all that, but I want you to use all those emotions and feelings that you're feeling and use it for the scene, right? So he ends up, Simon ends up filming his scene, doing his scenes for the coverage of Trevor Slattery's role of Barnaby. And then we finally see him, and you see that raw emotion that he's using because he was just betrayed by his friend, but at the same time, like, he feels for him because he's just like, wow, he really did that for me, and he didn't have to. And he's like, and even when they were on the phone with each other, he's like, dude, it's my fault. Like, it was never your fault. Don't worry. Like, I just got to take the fall. I couldn't keep hiding my secret for this long. And you really feel that that's what he's feeling. He feels such sorrow for his fallen friend now. While he's doing the scene. And then we peel back, and it's actually, they're watching the movie, the premiere, and he's with his mom, his brother's crying, and it's Joey Pants in place of Trevor Slattery for the role of Barnaby. And that was the funny part that got me. I was like, oh, they got Joey Pants where he weaseled his way in there, and I thought that was just a really cool really cool moment, full circle moment, that Simon finally got to live out his his dream, essentially. You know, he became Wonder Man, the character that he saw with his pops when he was a kid. Even to the point where, like, when they show that scene where the assistant gets Simon the real glasses that they used from the 80s in that movie to be Wonder Man, like, it was such like a cool, like, you know, like victory moment. And then seeing Simon finally on the red carpet, like kind of enjoying taking in, you know, all of the fame and having people, you know, come up to him, take pictures of him, and his brother finally compliments him, and his mom just says, like, you know, I'm proud of you, I always believed in you. Like, all of this stuff is going on. It's just so emotional, and it's so beautiful to finally see like his character arc come full circle too, where like he was so doubtful of himself, and then to being completely confident. And if it wasn't for Trevor, he wouldn't have felt the confidence that he feels. So I really genuinely like loved that about the show. But then we get to the final moments of the episode, aka the series as a whole. And Simon, his next big project is that he's researching, I guess, like this role of a guy. You don't know what the guy's job is yet, but the guy's also like, this is kind of weird. Like, you're just gonna be following me around. And a lot of actors do this, you know, if they're playing like a doctor or a bus driver or a pilot, you know, they usually they follow around, you know, whatever career that they're supposed to be playing in a movie, and just kind of see what their day-to-day is, kind of how they interact with their families, what, you know, so that way they could get kind of into the head of it and just play the role better. So Simon's finally doing this research. He's never done it before, and he's like, yeah, you know, I'm excited to do it. Come to find out, and I thought that this guy, when they're taking their drive over to this guy's job, I thought that this guy was, you know, at the Avengers Tower when you or the Avengers Mansion when you finally see where they're driving up to, but then it's revealed to be the Department of Damage Control. And I'm like, oh, so this whole time he's not researching a role, he's trying to get to Trevor, right? And then finally he gets to Trevor in the prison cell, and he's just like, dude, I'm here to break you out. And Trevor's like, no, the whole point was to make sure you were in the clear, that you were free. Like, I'm cool here. And Simon's like, nah, bro, like, you my boy. I got this. Don't even worry about it. You don't deserve to be here. Breaks him out of prison. And then you finally get to see Simon fly, because we haven't seen him fly before. And that's one of his biggest powers in the comic books. And boom, you see him fly up with Trevor from the prison, and then series ends. So I thought that was just such a cool way to end it, because like, you finally get to see like their friendship can still exist. They can still coexist. They can still be boys, because they genuinely care about each other, and they genuinely want to support each other. And that's a wrap. So overall thoughts, I would have to put this, I think I got to put it in the S tier. That's a 4.5 out of 5 or a 9 out of 10. I'm sorry. I loved this thing. I think I would take a point away. It only gets a 9 out of 10 simply because again, what I said earlier, I would rather see this as a movie, like a 2-hour movie or even 2:15 movie, instead of a whole 8-episode series, because I'm not going to rewatch a whole series that often, right? Probably, I don't know when the next time I'm going to watch this thing. Maybe when Doomsday comes out, I'll do like a whole lead up to it. But if it was like a movie, I think this would have been so much better, and I think it would have been one of my favorite movies of all time. But again, the show gave them time to really dive into the character work and really flesh out the whole story and the plots and stuff like that. Plot threads. I meant to say plot threads, and I stopped and said plots. I don't know what that was. But yeah, overall thoughts. Like I said, I loved this show. Like, I genuinely, like, I couldn't wait till the next episode. I was constantly hitting skip credits, skip intro, skip recap, you know, the whole 9. I was just like, I just want to get into the episode. Like, just give it to me. I want to watch it. And I haven't felt like that about an MCU series since maybe a Hawkeye, because Daredevil Born Again, I didn't binge. I watched that week to week. So I couldn't say Daredevil Born Again, even though I was excited for each episode, just because I love Daredevil. And it's not as good as the original 3 seasons, but I still love Daredevil. But none of the MCU Disney Plus shows have ever made me this excited about their shows. I mean, like I said, Hawkeye, I really liked. WandaVision was okay. Moon Knight was cool, but they weren't like things where I was like, oh, put the next episode. This was something where, like, even though I thought it was kind of weird that they decided to release every single episode in one shot instead of doing week by week, I was also very appreciative of it, because I was able to actually really enjoy the entire series as a whole, skipping no beats. Like, I was just able to just see the whole story unfold. And I thought that was really, really cool. So yeah, I loved it. I recommend it to everybody. Again, I'll probably not see this again until Doomsday comes out, so I'll have a reason to watch everything up until Doomsday. But if you haven't seen Wonder Man yet, I know I spoiled all of this, so you should have watched Wonder Man. I warned you in the beginning; you should have watched it before you saw this video. But if you're still watching this video and you still haven't seen Wonder Man, and you're still curious about watching Wonder Man, even after everything I just said, you want to experience it for yourself, please go and watch it. It was absolutely awesome. And I think it's easily, honestly, I think it's the best Disney Plus MCU show. I'm sorry. Like I don't know of something that's better. A lot of people love Loki. I was not a huge Loki fan. I liked season 2 even more than season 1 a little bit, to be quite honest. But I know that's a hot take, but I just, yeah, dude, Wonder Man, that was awesome. Awesome. And I can't wait to see him come back. I hope that they bring him back in Doomsday or at least Secret Wars. I'm assuming that, Marvel wanted to pump out all of these shows and different characters in order for them to have all these combatants in Secret Wars once Doom pits, villains and heroes against each other and whatnot. But who knows? Who knows? I highly doubt they'll ever make a season 2 for this show. If they do, cool. I'll be there day one. But if Simon is just making an appearance in, like I said, Doomsday or Secret Wars as a combatant, he's gonna be a problem. They're kind of making him on par to be as strong as, like, maybe even the Hulk or Thor or Sentry. Like he's up there, and in the comic books he is that powerful. So yeah, I'm really excited. And I can't wait to see what they do next with the character. Yahya Abdul-Mateen, perfect casting. Perfect casting. But that's it, guys. And if you like this video, remember to hit that like button and share this to someone so they can join in on the conversation too. Let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts about Wonder Man if you've seen it? Again, if you haven't, go watch it. But if you've seen it, let me know what you thought. Are you excited to see Wonder Man come back in the future in Avengers or in a sequel or a movie, or a season 2 of the show, I meant, not a sequel. But yeah, let me know all those thoughts. And until next time, guys, take care. And God bless.